How's it going, everybody? Got a lot to cover today, and some of this information might be a surprise to quite a few people in the music scene over in the Quad Cities. Might not be a surprise to others, but regardless, this is something that needs to be reported on. It needs to be said because it's this type of behavior that is dragging down something really, really good. I think there's a lot of good that can be had in the Quad City music scene. And there already is a fair amount of good that happens, regardless of this snake in the grass. But that being said, this is a person that needs to be called out. And they need to really, if they end up seeing this video, they need to take responsibility for their actions. They need to make a change. So I'm going to go ahead and get into it. Since late in 2021, I've been doing an investigation regarding Leigh Timbrook and Pierced Productions LLC, a DJ and karaoke company in the Quad Cities. This all started when I suspected Leigh of tampering with my DSLR at an open mic in East Moline. This was after, I guess a few months prior to that, I had a passing conversation in which I very definitively stated that I knew more about a certain subject that it regarded religion than she did. She took some obvious offense to it, called me an asshole. But that's whatever. I didn't think anything of it at the time. Regardless of that, I suspected after finding out that the DSLR was shut off that she was the one that did it. There was nobody around there. She was nearby the camera. It was put in such a position that I wouldn't have been able to see her do it. Just in perspective of where she was sitting. And of course I was performing, so it's kind of hard to keep a stage presence and also pay attention to your equipment. She never admitted to it, even though I'm pretty sure it was her or one of her cronies that did it. After she tampered with my camera, and unprompted again, I might add, called me an asshole, while also simultaneously claiming she didn't know who I was, I decided to start asking questions around town about her to people in the lower level music scene, which includes both karaoke and open mic. Just wanted to kind of get an idea of who this person was, why she's acting this way. At first, I got generally mixed responses. It was roughly an even number of people who didn't know who she was, knew who she was but had no opinion of her, people who knew who she was and had a generally good opinion of her, and people who knew who she was and had a bad opinion of her. I did this on my own time while I was already out in the general bar scene for a month or two with the same mixed results. Then a few people approached me regarding Leigh and privately gave testimony of some abusive and troubling experiences they had with her. Both of these people were prior DJs/KJs in the area and outlined some similar stories to my experience where they knew that Leigh had sabotaged their equipment, but they weren't able to get any definitive proof of the event. One of them had their external hard drive stolen, which included their entire licensed song list. When accusations arose that Leigh was the one who sabotaged it, the hard drive mysteriously turned back up in an obvious location. I also heard some accounts, and I want to note for legal reasons that I don't have definitive proof of this, but it's worth mentioning that I did hear this from well over 6 different sources, all of which were unrelated to each other and don't hang out in the same friend groups. Just a few interesting tidbits. I heard that she's skimming her DJ pay off her gig pay and not reporting it to the IRS. If this is true, then she's directly evading taxes. I have also heard that she's been awarded PPP loans and that she's used that money for things other than business expenses. I would like to note that you need to be up on your taxes in order to be awarded PPP loans. So if she is skimming DJ pay from her gig pay and not reporting it, she would not only be liable for tax evasion, but she would also be fraudulent in applying for PPP loans as well. It was around the time that I found out about her alleged tax practices that I had a few first-hand accounts come my way again of Leigh pushing one of her employees over in his bar stool without him looking. A quick search on that person's Facebook profile yielded a poem/song he wrote about it entitled "Leigh Pushed Me." This post was met with so much ire and discontent that he quickly took it down. He's still employed by her to this day and regularly appears on her podcast, The Dan and Leigh Show. It was at this point that I started being a bit more vocal about my opinions of Leigh. I made multiple Facebook posts about it publicly and would regularly speak loudly about it when I was out in the public scene. It was after this that I started noticing people following me around from place to place in the Moline bar scene. Leigh even showed up multiple times to the same bar that I was at, even though I had rarely seen her in those places prior to this. And trust me, she was keeping some tabs on me, regularly looking at me over her shoulder or just a few times just straight mean mugging me. And that's fine. It's very obvious. I was making it obvious of what I was doing and not that surprised, nor was I intimidated. Just worth noting, though. She even invited me to come onto her podcast after watching me perform an open mic. I called her out on her shenanigans when she made this proposition, calling me an asshole, and I also accused her of shutting off my DSLR during that previous open mic I mentioned earlier, in which she also called me an asshole and claimed that she didn't know who I was. Once again, kind of weird to call somebody an asshole if you don't know who they are. I also said that I'd be glad to come onto her podcast if she came onto my podcast first. I never heard from her directly after that. Finally, after word had been getting around that I intended to make a video about this woman and her nefarious practices, a few key individuals came forward asking if they could go on record to discuss some of the various bad experiences they had with Leigh in relation to her business. And this is where it genuinely got interesting. So before I get to those testimonies, I want to make a few things completely clear. Leigh is not a good person. She is a narcissist and a manipulator, and I'm sure upon the release of this video, it is almost guaranteed that she will deny many of the things that are said about her because she is unable to grow as an individual or take responsibility for her insidious behavior. I have firsthand witnessed and have seen screenshots of her harassing other business owners. I have seen the things that she has said to and about people on social media. She does not deserve sympathy. She deserves every bit of ire she receives. Now that you're up to speed with the journey that has gotten me here, and with all of that being said, here are a few testimonies from people who have felt the first-hand wrath, the dark side of Pierced Productions, Leigh Timbrook. Okay, so today I'm over here with Mike Strum. How's it going, Mike?
Doing good. How are you doing today?
Oh, not too bad. I wanted to reach out to you about Leigh Timbrook and Pierced Productions. And we went over and we had already previously talked, and I had written down some notes, but since then, there's been a few developments, a post that you made, and kind of just some other developments that Leigh has kind of done on her end. And I just thought that it would be awesome if we could just kind of do this in voice and have a talk.
That sounds good to me.
So if you would, just kind of give a brief introduction of kind of just how you, came to know Leigh Timbrook as a business owner and just kind of as a general person.
Okay. I actually was introduced to Leigh through Ariel Kratos. Ariel Kratos was a private investigator and part-time KJ for the Davenport PD, and I knew her. Well, at the time it was her girlfriend, but Kelsey as well. And I was invited out to go to karaoke with them. That's kind of how I met Leigh. And then it just kind of became a casual place to meet and hang out and meet other singers in the area.
Okay. So Leigh just kind of for a while you had mentioned that she used you to do kind of like some crowd hype. Can you give like kind of a general explanation of, what that was about?
Right. So in 2018, I won the Quad City Voice Tournament, which was sponsored by Pierced Production. And when I won that after the fact, essentially Leigh would basically make me go to shows and report things to her that she didn't like if she didn't like somebody. Or she would take me out there and basically make me get people that would not normally sing comfortable enough to get up and sing so that she could make more money for her shows.
Okay. Um,
And a lot of the time, like with the case with Felicia, we are I would be sent like if I was in the area and it was your first gig, then sometimes she would send a couple of experienced karaoke goers to kind of help the new KJ with pitch and sound control,
okay.
of course, without pay.
Of course. So, kind of, you know, let me know about this comment that you had made to me. You said that at one point, and I think this was during the 2018 Voice, that you had mentioned that there was a song that you put in for, and she didn't spell it
Uh,
right. What kind of
yes,
transpired after you told her that it wasn't spelled correctly?
right. So she was looking for a karaoke version of Kane Brown's Heaven, and she spelled his name with a C. And essentially, I told her, I was like, oh, it's with a K. That's probably why you can't find it in your library. And she turned around and she smacked me twice on my cheek and said that she knows how to run her effing equipment.
So, would you say that Leigh has a bit of a temper?
Definitely.
Okay.
Especially when she thinks and to herself that she's in the right.
Okay. And would you say that she, in general, tries to scapegoat people?
Definitely. Scapegoat. And if she can't do that, I would say that she gaslights them a lot publicly.
Okay. So let's move to the actual 2018 voice contest. So, you told me that you made a suggestion to her, that had to do with some safety reasons, of where to hold that contest. Could you kind of go into more detail about that?
Okay, so that's two separate incidents. We did the karaoke voice contest over at Billy Bob's, but the night that is in question is the night of the shooting where there were 8 people shot about 10 feet from her newest KJ. It was their two KJs she had just hired first day, and I was out there helping them with sound control, breaking out equipment when the shooting started. Um, the first incident was done with a panel of judges at the QC Voice. The second one, which is, I believe, the one you're asking about, I had informed Leigh that per city ordinance, we couldn't have that many electrical compliances near open fires and compressed gas. They had propane grills and stuff out there.
Okay.
So like we couldn't have electrical currents flying around where there's a possible explosion that could happen in a crowd of people. And I had explained to Leigh that it made more sense to do the concert inside Billy Bob's on the stage where she normally did. But Leigh made the call for Felicia to stay outside. Um, and we were specifically requested to play more aggressive music after 9:30. When I say 9:30, I mean and aggressive, I mean like not screamo, but more suggestive music that would
Okay.
kind of put the crowd in a different mind state. You know what I mean?
Sure. So the city ordinance is about 150 to 180 feet away. About how close did they set up the equipment to the, the
Um,
propane canisters?
right. So, the average American road, this is transportation for you. The average American road is exactly 10.5 feet wide. So there's two lanes downtown. So I would say 20 feet,
Okay.
maybe 22 feet.
So I guess we'll go ahead and move on. So you also performed in the, the 2018 Voice, and you won, and there was supposed to be a prize. Can you kind of elaborate a little bit more on what the prize was and how much you were paid?
Right. So the advertisement was for $2,000 and I ended up with $800. And I never saw the money after that. Fortunately, I was in a position where I wasn't dependent on it, but I never heard anything from her. She never apologized, never paid me the difference, never even brought it up again.
So, okay. Well, let's go ahead and move to a few kind of other strange happenings that you had mentioned around Leigh. Let's kind of have a brief mention of her relationship with, excuse me here, with Carl. Would you say that that was with Carl, Beatty? Carl Beatty. Sorry, I was having a brain fart on his name. I met the guy once, but would you say that that was a very, uh, well, would you say it was a normal relationship? Would you say that there was kind of some weird stuff that was going on in general around that relationship?
I would say, and this is just my thoughts, I think when as an outsider looking in, it may appear very normal, but I don't believe there was a very much a lot of performing and drinking and party mentality, which is similar in this industry to a lot of other KJs. But one thing that was very evident about Leigh specifically is when Carl and her separated, she went absolutely bonkers online. I mean, she dang near lost her business. She started accusing her coworkers of stuff, but not charging them. She started justifying things through social media, like sexual harassment. She started justifying the basically slander of her employees. And then she just lost a lot of friendships just by how she lashed out at people. If anything, I would say that Carl made Leigh stable. And without her, I don't think she has any credible stability. Without Carl, without him, sorry.
So let's talk about some of the rumors. So there was a rumor that one of the KJs raped a trans man. Is that correct?
Yes, that was informed, that was relayed through Devin, one of Leigh's former employees, to get the, I believe it's Hey Bryans away from. There was another KJ group in town that was getting VIPs and Broken Saddle for a while, but it was a
Okay.
way to get that business from them.
Okay. Um, some other, I guess, rumors. There was some rumors of employees stealing things. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. I can't recall that woman's name. Again, she was a woman I met the night of the shooting, working a separate venue. But for months, and I don't mean like days, this was not like a singular fixated incident. It was months of me turning on social media or checking on family posts and seeing Leah going off on this woman about stealing money or not returning things or slandering Pierce Productions or accusing her of everything under the sun, but no legal action was being taken.
So
And
sorry,
sorry,
I was just going to
go
say
ahead.
that's kind of interesting because I, you know, kind of made the mention in, this at the start of this video over in the script that I don't really even really know Leigh that much, and the only reason I even started investigating her is because she had tampered with some of my equipment at an open mic. And it's kind of interesting that she would accuse other people of stealing when I didn't even have to, but barely start asking questions around town. And there were all kinds of people saying that she has multiple times stolen things.
Yeah. Um, I remember the one incident where I remember the theft of any kind. I had a guitar pick from Andy Gibson. He's the backup bassist for Journey now.
Okay.
I don't know if you're talking about, but I had a guitar pick I got from the concert a few years ago, and she straight up stole that and used it during the set. And I didn't recognize it till weeks later that it had been taken.
Okay. Yeah, I find that kind of interesting that she was making those accusations when really it sounds like she doesn't seem to think it's really that big of a deal to steal. But I just figured I'd make that comment.
Yeah.
So there's a couple other instances here where some people around her shows were drugged. Can you elaborate a little more on that?
Um, yeah. I don't know if I have friends in different places, mostly business owners, but sometimes I make friends within the staff. There was a bartender that worked at Black Sheep originally, where Leigh was doing business, and her friend ended up drugged. One of them, and for the record, I would like to keep their names private here,
Sure.
um, because this is multiple years ago. But I remember I was following the bartender home, and her friend was between us, and she crashed into the light post not 15 minutes after leaving the bar. So we were I was just escorting them to make sure they got home safely, and both of them came up positive for GHB, which is a very quick induced form of liquid ecstasy, and typically found at some well, parties and stuff like that for your more experienced drug users.
So I guess just to kind of close up a loose end here, what motivation would Leigh have to drug those people?
I don't, well, drugged people spend more, just like drunk people. That's my logic. And I just wouldn't put it past Leigh to use underhanded tactics to get an edge on her clientele.
Do you think she would do the same for people who are critical of her?
Ooh, yeah, especially with Carl not in her life, definitely. Because I feel like Carl was the more restrained of the two. Um, Definitely more professional, upfront, and very talented as an individual. But
Sure.
without that restraint, definitely.
So let's talk just as kind of like a final thing here. There were some rumors spread out about Carafun, a service that you can purchase for $50 a month and use as a kind of karaoke business.
Mhm.
Did you hear anything about her kind of spreading rumors about that software or that service?
Yeah, so the bartenders over, oh God, I forgot there was a small bar out in at Rock Island and in Moline actually. Both of them, when Felicia started her business, they said that um, they had received text messages, and I'd seen an email from Leigh that Felicia didn't have licensing to run Carafun, which was weird because I was originally going to invest in Felicia's business because she didn't have originally she was unsure if she would have the startup, and I was 100% ready to back her. She's an amazing individual. Um, but Leigh had started a rumor about her using illegal business tactics that were completely unfounded. Even if Felicia didn't have the funds to buy those things, she had plenty of people, like I said, like myself, that would have gladly loaned her that till she got on her feet.
So one thing that's kind of ironic that I would like to kind of inject in the conversation here is that Leigh's business uses Carafun. So
Uh-huh.
it's kind of interesting that she would have any issues with other people using Carafun when she herself uses Carafun. I wonder what the logic is there.
Right. I believe that the original rumor was that you have to pay for the usage of each sound through Carafund. You can't just pay for Carafund, you have to pay for that. But you cannot distribute music from Carafund because you don't have the permission to share it. That is where I think the rumor started.
Right, and that's I guess where I'm saying is that I mean even a recent screenshot from one of her new KJs, um, they use Carafun, so
Oh yeah, they do.
for their
They always
actual
have.
business, so they are definitely distributing. Uh,
And when they have internet, they use YouTube,
yeah, I've heard
which
that
is
too.
illegal.
So it's a just a constant case of her, you know, doing one thing and talking crap about it. Uh, yeah. So
That is,
let's just kind of, and I know I said I was going to end up there, but we haven't covered this kind of situation where we touched on it briefly, but you were sent some unsolicited mature pictures. Can you kind of elaborate on what those were, kind of where they came from, and how it was
um,
handled by Leigh as the business owner?
yeah, I received some unsolicited photos from Devin, who was one of her KJs. I got pictures of his genitalia sent to me. And essentially, when I reported this to Leigh, I was expecting him to be terminated. And instead, I was basically told to stop tattletaling and whatever, mind it, get over it. Um, After the fact, Devin and them had, when they left the company or whatnot, I managed to get a hold of the messages directly between her work chat room or whatever, and she had made the comment essentially to the effect of like, who would even send him a blah 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 picture, and Dave didn't work for us yet. Well, I went to ask about that, and it turns out that Dave had been accused multiple times of sending pictures of himself to drunk females at their shows.
Gross.
Yeah. So she even laughed about it and made a joke about sexual harassment and justified it with two of her employees. So,
So just all
yeah.
around, just a general hot mess and scapegoater and just ridiculous. But I just like to kind of open the floor for, I guess, some final comments. I mean, what final things do you have to say about Pierce Productions, and what's kind of like a message that you'd like to give out, to the public that's going to eventually see this video?
My message would be, I believe that business owners are uniquely in a position, especially when they deal with the public, to maintain an atmosphere of safety and integrity. And those aren't mutually exclusive things. I believe that Pierce Production lacks both fundamental values of any kind in either of those departments. And I do not believe that anyone is safe at their shows. That is where I'm at. I just don't trust them. And if they say otherwise, they will be slandered in the media again and again. I want people to be safe.
I definitely agree, and I mean that's you know I don't have as much, in my investigation experience of, the safety aspect, and I appreciate you, speaking about that. I mean, I guess, just the main thing for me is that when somebody is this toxic to the community and they continuously are rewarded with business after business after using shady and it's technically not illegal, but it's just bad business. There's good businesses that go about doing things the right way and trying to build good relationships around the community, and then there's bad businesses like Pierce Productions that want to slander people, want to never learn from their shortcomings, and just essentially just brings the whole entire community down. So, I just really appreciate you being willing to come forward and speak. There was multiple people that I talked with that had direct interactions, long-term interactions with Leigh that didn't have the courage to come forward, and I appreciate your courage to come forward and to say something so that we could maybe address it as a community and kind of expose Leigh Timbrook and her, just poor business dealings.
I hope that she faces justice for anything that she has done and not been caught for yet.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Mike. Once again, thanks again for coming to talk with me. And like I said, I'll be releasing this video soon, and at least the things that I have dug up, and the conversations I've had with you and Felicia will be brought to light.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it. Keep doing the good job out there, fighting the good fight.
Will do, man. Talk to you later.
Later. Bye-bye.
Hi, Felicia. Please introduce yourself and your company.
My name is Felicia Wilkins. I am owner and operator of Fellas Functions LLC. I am a newer business owner in the Quad City area, and I own a DJ karaoke company. I've been doing it for several years, mostly part-time, but I loved it so much that I wanted to make it my own company.
Awesome. So we're here today to talk about Leigh Timbrook and Pierced Productions. Leigh has taken quite a few steps to attack your business and your personal character over the past few years. What is your intent for this interview?
My intent is to get her to stop harassing me and my company and stop trying to tear me down.
Okay. So let's go ahead and go from the start. How did you first get to know Leigh?
I met her through another DJ KJ. She referred me to her for a job because I was interested in becoming a DJ KJ, but I did not, know how to properly invest into becoming a DJ KJ. So she suggested somebody who hires part-time employees and trains them how to use all the equipment and how to set up and tear down, and has them work jobs for her.
So did you eventually get employed by her?
Yes, that was my first DJ KJ job, was with Leigh Timbrook.
Okay. And about what year did you start doing that?
August of 2020.
Okay. So under what capacity? You were just DJing, or
Yeah,
was there any other stuff that you did for it?
It started off as just part-time for the DJ KJ part. I worked at least 2 gigs pretty much every week to start with. By the end of it, I was working 4 gigs every week for her. There were times where she'd ask me to fill in very suddenly at a gig that somebody could not get to or was not able to be at for whatever reason whatsoever. Sometimes I knew the reason, sometimes I didn't. There was other times where she would have tents set up at like Pride Fest doing face painting and whatnot, and she'd have me go run the booth when I really didn't know much about face painting. So, there were times where she'd just have us go do jobs like that, or she'd have us do DJ stuff.
Do you think that she paid you adequately?
For the most part, yes. There were times where I think that she did not tell me that she was getting paid a certain amount for a job, and she did not give me the payment that was worth the job.
Okay. How do you mean?
Like, for instance, working a wedding gig. There was a time where I worked a wedding gig and I got told that she had paid a certain amount up front, and then she was giving me the rest of the payment, which Leigh had not told me about before. So I'm assuming that she only meant to split a quarter or something of it with me instead of half of it like she normally does with other gigs.
So speaking of kind of not fully paying out on gigs or things like that, did you have any involvement in different events that she put on, like the Voice of the Quad Cities?
No, actually, she kept me away from that. That
Okay.
was about the time that I decided to try to do my own thing.
Okay. So would you say that Leigh is a good business owner?
Not exactly. I would not say she runs her business very well. She's very disorganized. There's times where she forgets about gigs and she misses gigs. I know she's lost a couple gigs due to that. There's times where she would not keep her equipment up to date, and she's lost gigs due to that as well, where the set that they continued to use for that gig every week had a cord missing, or there was a problem with the board, every week, and they just were fed up with the equipment not meeting to par.
So keeping in that same line of questioning, do you think she's a good DJ or KJ?
No, not really. She can have favoritism sometimes when she is on the job.
Do you think that pushes away customers?
Oh, yes, very much so.
Okay. So getting back to your employment and your experience, being employed by Leigh, was there some weird stuff that happened during that time? And by weird, was there some kind of unprofessional things that happened?
Yeah, there were a few incidents where very unprofessional things happened.
Would you care to elaborate?
Well, one of them was a way she handled a former friend of hers that is a current friend of mine. He received a very illicit photo from one of her employees, and he tried to tell her about it, and all she did was make jokes about it and blocked him and pretty much told him to leave her alone as if it never happened. And in the group chat for our work for the DJ KJs, she was pretty much talking bad things about him. And the employee in question who sent him the specific picture or whatever it was, he he didn't get any reprimandation whatsoever. He admitted to it in the chat, and he also was pretty much told, "Oh, good job," pretty much.
So are you referring to Michael Strom?
I am.
Okay, because I actually have his
Yeah.
testimony as well, in
Yeah,
which he
that is
mentioned
one of
that.
the worst things that I experienced while working there.
Had I talked to you about anything as far as his, testimony prior to this interview?
No.
That's the first you're hearing of it?
Yeah, I didn't
Okay.
know that he had.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
did you ever learn of or witness Leigh abusing employees either physically or verbally?
Verbally, yes. Physically, I have not seen, but I have heard of.
And what types of things have you heard of?
I have heard of her smacking people. I have heard of her verbally accosting people just because they tried to tell her one thing and tried to correct her when she was even just spelling something wrong.
Do you think Leigh has a bit of a temper?
I think yes. She just doesn't allow many people to see it.
Okay. So moving on, you eventually left her employ. What happened when you gave her your notice?
When I first gave her my notice, she did not make a big deal about it. She accepted it, and when I told her my intentions were to eventually go on my own, I told her face to face. I did not tell her over Messenger or anything. It was a respect thing. She looked at me and she said, "Well, good for you. I'm happy for you." And then the next day, she messaged me questioning how I got the money to be able to go out and on my own and whatnot. How was I able to afford all of the music tracks and whatnot, because that costs thousands of dollars to do. I specifically told her right now I am not equipped to be able to do that at the moment, but eventually down the line I will be. And she continued to tell me that I wasn't going to be able to do it.
Okay. And whenever you got your business up off the ground, did she do anything to sabotage your clients or your business?
Yes. Before I even became a business owner, I was working under another DJ in the area. who had his own business just as long as Leigh has. And he had me working just 1 gig a week at a location that wanted me to be their designated DJ KJ. And they were willing to work with me until I got my own business up and running. They hired me knowing that I was going to become a business owner. When she found out that I was working there, because she had lost that gig due to not showing up. She did no call, no show several times, and the owner fired her for it. So he got a hold of the DJ that I was working with at the time, and he said, "Hey, I know exactly who to send to you. You've already had her there before and you get along with her." So he allowed me to work there under his company until I got my own company up and running. And when she found out that I was working there, she messaged the owner directly and told him that I was not legal to do it on my own, that I had to work under a company name. Otherwise, she was going to call the authorities on me and tell them that I'm illegally running a karaoke show.
So there was some other very specific accusations that she brought up about Carafun. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes, she states that Carafun is an illegal program, just like YouTube is. But that is not the case. It depends on which subscription you subscribe to for Carafun, because there's a personal subscription that's only like $9 or $10 a month, and then there's a professional subscription that's $50 a month that gives you your professional licensing and whatnot that you need to be able to run karaoke and DJ publicly.
So can you just describe really quick what Carafun is and how you use it to, do your business?
Carafun is a music program that's designed to be used as a karaoke application that you not only are able to use their online catalog, but you can also upload files from your own computer or your own hard drive to use as a karaoke application to provide karaoke for people. And it has a wide variety of songs and a lot of updated songs as well.
So when she was claiming that Carafun cannot be used legally for karaoke services, how was she making those claims? Was she calling up business owners?
She was not calling up business owners, but she was messaging them through Facebook Messenger. She messaged Terry Tilka of Ribco, and she messaged the Grumpy's Facebook page as well.
And what was the accusation that she was making?
That I was not legal to be able to run karaoke because I was using Carafun.
Okay. Did she ever do any other things to sabotage your clients, like showing up to your gigs?
She did not.
Okay. So
she did send one of her employees. I'm not sure if he was sent by her, but I know that he's very close to her, and he was continually going to one of the gigs that she lost that they called me and I gained. And he was continuously going to them while I was working with them, and I currently still am, asking them when they're going to hire her back.
So, given all of these actions that she was making against your business, how did you respond to that?
I pretty much just went to the business owners that were concerned that I was not legal, and I provided them all of my paperwork and all of the proof that I needed to show that I was a legal business owner and legal of providing karaoke publicly to the business owners. And that's pretty much all that they asked. But it was very stressful. It was so stressful that it caused me some anxiety trying to do somewhat of a cleanup behind her from the damage that she was doing to my business and my character.
So, did she continue after that?
Yes.
And what did you do after she kept continuing to harass your business?
I eventually went to my lawyer who I set up my business with, and I had him send her a cease and desist letter.
So after she had been given the cease and desist letter, did she stop harassing you?
Unfortunately, no.
What was the, let me rephrase that. how did she continue harassing you after the cease and desist letter?
She took advantage of a situation on social media, and she posted in public comments in a karaoke group about me, about how I am a terrible, not even a legal business owner, how Carafun isn't even legal, according to her anyways. And apparently that I'm just not a good person for karaoke, that I'm not entertaining, that kind of thing. Some other very rude and crude comments as well against me.
So after she made these further attacks upon your character and your business, did you go back to your lawyer?
I did.
And what did they say?
They said that I cannot take any legal action right now that would probably result in any kind of positive results that we would want to see until I lose business due to her.
So why do you think she's doing this to your business?
In my personal opinion, I'm thinking that maybe she sees me as some kind of threat, even though I'm not. I'm just trying to do a good job. And it's not my fault that people see that I'm doing a good job.
Do you have any final thoughts?
I would have to say that I just hope that eventually she sees the wrong that she's done. And I hope that someday she in some way finds a way to atone for herself for it in herself.
Okay, well, thanks, Felicia, for coming on. I really appreciate your interview, and hopefully when people hear about this, it will open people's eyes to who Leigh Timbrook is and how she's been affecting you and your business in the area.
I agree.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, there you have it. That's the video. We've been on quite a bit of a journey. This has been a long-term project. And quite frankly, this has opened my eyes quite a bit to the music community. The number of people that want to make excuses for shitty people and shitty businesses is disgusting to me. I'm blown away by the amount of grifting that goes on, the amount of people that have a lack of courage, lack of spine, the amount of people that just, once again, want to make every excuse in the book because they are able to benefit in some way by the general publicity that Pierced Production gets on a regular basis. Makes me sick. This person does not deserve the position that the community, in many respects, seems to give her. She's a disgusting and gross individual. And I'm not going to back down from this. So I really hope that a lot of people have their minds changed on who Leigh Timbrook really is, what she's willing to do for some petty karaoke business. It's pretty bad. It's pretty disgraceful. It's definitely not honorable. And it's definitely not something that the community should be holding on a pedestal. It's definitely not something that the music community should be devoting their time to for a birthday party. To celebrate a person who is generally a snake in the grass. Just not good for the, I guess, forward-thinking and positive community that many people want to say that the Quad Cities is about. So I just want you to think hard. I want you to think really hard and in-depth. Can you continue to make excuses for this person? I know that I don't even know them very well. And I can honestly say that I have enough honor and integrity that if they were my friend, at a minimum, I would step up and have the courage to ask them to change. And that's what I challenge you to do, the Quad Cities music community. Take a stand. Ask for a change. Tell her to drop it. If you have a business in which you're incapable of handling, stop pushing and scapegoating onto other people for your lack of integrity and lack of character. So in conclusion, I thank you. This is one of the longest videos that I've done to date, other than obviously podcasts. We need to band together to make a change. We need to approach Leigh Timbrook, tell her to stop with the petty games and the bad behavior. Take responsibility for what you've done. And let's move forward. This doesn't have to be the end of Pierced Productions, but it needs to be an end of an era. For the better of your own business, if you're watching. You are the one that holds the reins, and it's you who can make the change. So if this is content that you like, please hit that like and subscribe button. And as always, thank you for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.